The road leading to my beach house had always felt like an exhale. Palm trees leaning lazily toward the sand, sunlight flickering like gold through their leaves, the distant hush of waves promising peace. My beach house was the one place I allowed myself to soften. It was the result of years of sacrifice, extra shifts, canceled vacations, and quiet nights convincing myself that someday it would all be worth it. And it had been. That house was my reward, my sanctuary, my yes in a world full of no. So when I pulled into the driveway after 6 long weeks away for work and spotted an unfamiliar silver SUV parked in my private spot, the peace shattered like a seashell under a boot. At first, I thought I'd driven into the wrong place. It was a ridiculous thought, but confusion has a way of making even the obvious slippery. Then I noticed the side window of the house propped open, curtains fluttering out as though the house itself were trying to escape. My heart gave a nervous kick. I hauled my suitcase out of the trunk, walked up the steps, and froze the moment I opened the door. The air smelled different, too sterile, like store-bought candles and cleaning products I would never use. But that wasn't what hit me hardest. It was the living room, my soft blue sofa, the one I'd picked after months of saving gone. My grandmother's rocking chair, the last family heirloom I cherished gone. My thrifted wooden coffee table full of scuffs and stories gone. In their place were glossy, modern furniture pieces that looked straight out of a magazine I'd never subscribed to. Cold gray, unwelcoming white, sharp angles, glass, metal, a house that once felt like a hug now felt like a stranger. And standing in the center of it all, barefoot, holding a half-finished glass of wine at 2 in the afternoon, was my sister. "Oh, you're back," she said cheerfully, as if she were greeting me at her own home. She didn't seem startled or embarrassed. She wasn't even apologetic. She just smiled the kind of smile she used when she wanted something. My voice came out thin. What are you doing here?" She lifted her glass, gesturing broadly. "Isn't it amazing? I did a complete refresh. Your furniture was depressingly outdated. I couldn't let you come back to that." My tongue stuck to the roof of my mouth. "Where is my stuff?" "Oh, I donated most of it," she said breezily, as if she'd done me a favor by erasing pieces of my life. "A few things were too damaged to save. You really should take better care of your things." I stepped further in, trying to steady my breathing. "You moved in, you changed everything without asking." She shrugged. "You were gone, the place was empty. I figured you wouldn't mind. Besides, you know how stressful things have been for me." She leaned back on the new glass table, her tone dripping with entitlement. The same entitlement she'd been allowed all her life. But I didn't trust myself to speak. Not yet. Not until I understood the full scope of what she had done. So I walked deeper into the house, hands trembling, heart pounding. My sanctuary had been invaded. And the worst part was, my sister didn't think she'd done anything wrong. I barely slept that first night back. Every creak of the floorboards felt unfamiliar. Every corner of the house looked wrong. Even the ocean, usually my lullaby, felt like it was whispering a warning instead of comfort. My sister slept soundly in what used to be my guest room, unconcerned, unbothered, and utterly unaware of the tornado she had unleashed inside me. In the early morning light, I found her in the kitchen, humming to herself as she made coffee in my mug. My favorite one, the chipped turquoise one, I'd bought at a flea market on a day. I'd been so happy it hurt. Seeing her use it so casually felt like yet another trespass. "We should talk," I said. She rolled her eyes before I even finished the sentence. "Oh God, what now?" My hands curled into fists. "You moved into my house without permission. You threw away my things. You remodeled without asking. You can't just do that." She set the mug down with a dramatic sigh. "You're overreacting. Seriously, I can't believe you're making this a big deal. I helped you. I improved this place, and now you're yelling at me." I'm not yelling, I said, though my voice shook. I just want to understand why you thought this was okay. You were gone for weeks, she said, crossing her arms. The house was sitting here empty, and after everything I've been through recently, I needed a break, a place to heal. You weren't using it. I stared at her. That doesn't make it yours. She threw her hands up. I didn't think you'd mind. You're always so independent. You don't get attached to things the way I do. You're practical. I figured you'd be glad someone was taking care of the place while you were busy running around with your job. There it was, the old script. I was the responsible one. She was the fragile one. And somehow, everything always became my responsibility, taking care of the place. I repeated, incredulous. You gutted it. You got rid of things that mattered to me. They were ugly. She shot back. Honestly, you should be thanking me. I felt something inside me snap quietly, like a shell cracking in half. You can't show up uninvited, move in, replace everything, and then expect me to be grateful. Her eyes narrowed. You always do this. You always make me the bad guy. You never appreciate what I do for you. I remodeled for your benefit, for my benefit. I whispered. You erased my home, and you're acting like you sacrificed something for me. She stepped closer, lowering her voice to the sugary tone she used when she wanted to manipulate. Look, why are we even fighting about this? You have the money, I don't. If anything, you're helping me by letting me stay here. It's what family does. Family. A word she'd weaponized more than once. I looked around at the home that was no longer mine. My chest tightened, and old memories surfaced. Her taking my toys as a kid, her borrowing clothes without returning them, her parents defending her no matter how wrong she was. This wasn't new behavior, but this was the most extreme it had ever been. A harsh truth settled in my bones. She wasn't confused. She wasn't desperate. She expected ownership simply because she'd walked in, and now she expected me to accept it. But I wasn't that person anymore. This time the tide wasn't pulling me under. This time I felt it turning. After our confrontation, my sister strutted around the house as if she'd won something, as if her entitlement were a crown, and I was merely a subject beneath it. She kept opening drawers, rearranging utensils, and leaving her things scattered across countertops, as though marking territory. It was subtle, but I recognized the behavior. She was trying to reassert control, trying to reclaim the power she felt slipping. But something had changed in me. I wasn't the quiet sibling who swallowed conflict anymore. I wasn't the girl who let years of manipulation wash over her like unwanted waves. This time I stood still. I stood firm, and the more she pushed, the more resolved I became. I waited until she left to run errands, which I suspected meant showing off my beach town to her friends. And then I made my first call. The lawyer listened patiently as I explained everything, from finding her living in my home to the furniture she'd thrown away. Let me be clear, he said, his tone steady and almost amused. She has zero legal standing here. This property is solely in your name. She wasn't invited, and she made alterations. You are entirely in the right. Something inside me loosened like a fist unclenching after years of tension. Can she claim any kind of squatter's rights? I asked, embarrassed that I even needed to. No, he said sharply, not with a family relationship and no proof of residency. And even if she tried, the changes she made without your consent put her in violation of property laws. My breath came out uneven, relief mixed with something else. Strength, maybe, a feeling I hadn't felt in a long time. Thank you, I said. When the call ended, I sat on the porch steps and watched the waves roll in, slow and certain. The ocean seemed different today, calmer, like it knew something I didn't yet. The sun shimmered on the water, and for a moment I felt the faintest lift of hope. Then my phone buzzed, a text from my sister. When are you sending the payment? I put it on my credit card and the interest is ridiculous. Her boldness was almost impressive if it hadn't been so infuriating. I didn't respond, not yet. Instead, I walked back into the house and made a list. A real list, my kind of list, quiet, organized, intentional. A list of action items that represented the boundary I should have set years ago. Change the locks, photograph every damaged area, request an estimate for furniture replacement, draft a written notice of unauthorized occupancy, prepare a bill. My bill itemizing everything she owed me. It wasn't about getting revenge for the sake of pain. It wasn't about hurting her back. It was about reclamation, reclaiming my space, my voice, my dignity. As I walked through the house again, I noticed details I had been too upset to see before. Scuff marks where she had dragged in new furniture, holes in the wall where she hung art that wasn't mine. Stains from products I never would have used. Each mark was a reminder that this wasn't just a misunderstanding. This was a violation, and the person who had done it expected to be thanked. I touched the wall where my grandmother's rocking chair used to sit. A bruise of a nail hole remained, small but poignant. This ends now, I whispered to myself. For the first time since returning home, I felt steady. I felt ready, the tide was shifting, and this time it was shifting in my favor. The next morning, I woke with a clarity that felt almost foreign. The anxiety that had stalked me since returning to my home was gone, replaced by a calm determination. This wasn't about getting even. This was about ending a long, painful pattern that had followed me since childhood like a shadow. My sister was sitting at the kitchen island, scrolling on her phone, one leg crossed over the other with the confidence of someone who believed she had secured her place here. She didn't even look up when I walked in. "Hey," she said casually, "just a reminder. You owe me for all the updates. Credit card companies don't wait." I set a stack of papers in front of her. "What's this?" she asked, finally lifting her eyes. She sounded irritated, not curious. "Your bill," I said calmly. Her eyebrows shot up. "My what?" I took a slow breath, keeping my tone even. "A detailed invoice for everything you damaged, removed, threw away, or altered without my permission, plus cleaning costs, plus the cost of unauthorized occupancy." She snorted. "You're joking." "No," I said softly. "I'm done joking." She flipped through the pages. Her face paled slightly at the photos I'd taken, the missing furniture, the scuffed floors, the paint damage, the broken table leg. Then she reached the tally at the bottom. "This is insane," she barked. "You can't charge me this. I was helping you." I met her gaze steadily. "You broke into my home, you moved in without permission, you threw away things that mattered to me, and then you billed me for it. If I were anyone else, you'd have been arrested already." She opened her mouth, but I held up a hand. "I spoke with a lawyer." I added, "That did it." Her expression flickered just for a moment, with real fear. She swallowed hard. You talked to a lawyer?" "Yes, and legally you have no rights to this house. You never did. You're leaving today, and you will not step foot inside this property again." She slammed the papers onto the island. "I can't believe you're doing this to me. I'm your sister." "Yes," I said. "And for years, I let that excuse your behavior, but not anymore." Her face twisted, and she launched into her usual tactics. Guilt, tears, personal attacks, shifting blame. I stayed silent through all of it. For once, her words didn't penetrate. They rang hollow, like someone knocking on a door they had already been locked out of. When she realized I wasn't budging, she stormed to the guest room and began throwing her things into bags, slamming drawers, cursing under her breath, making sure I heard her anger in every movement. It didn't matter. The storm was outside of me this time, not inside. Within an hour, she was at the front door, still furious, still muttering that I was cruel, heartless, ungrateful. I didn't respond. I simply held the door open, and then she was gone. The silence afterward was deep, peaceful, almost sacred. That afternoon, I had the locks changed. I emailed her the final invoice and a formal notice of no trespassing. She replied with paragraphs of rage I didn't read. I blocked her number. Then I began the slow, gentle work of restoring my home, my haven. I brought back warmth, softness, familiarity. Every piece I chose, every picture I rehung, felt like reclaiming a part of myself I had lost long before she ever stepped inside. That evening, I sat on the porch, the sun dipping low, casting everything in gold. The waves rolled in and out, steady and timeless. For the first time in years, I felt free. Not because I'd pushed her out, but because I had finally let myself in.